Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and as you can see, I am back home. This is actually really heartbreaking news because my university had to cancel classes basically for the rest of the semester. They said that we would probably not be able to come back after spring break, which I think it is very true. As you've probably heard from the news, the outbreak is not getting better, especially here in the United States. So yeah, just be safe. Don't cough into your hands or cough into the air because you can be obviously a threat to everybody else, and this is just going to make the outbreak last longer. So be very conscientious about, you know, your decisions and your cleanliness. I was super sure to like wipe out all the surfaces of the plane and at the airport when I was there with disinfectant. So just take like a few more stringent steps than you would otherwise so that you can keep everybody around you and yourself safe. And I hope that everybody's well right now and healthy. So today we're going to talk about speaking from the first day that you start learning a language. I know that sounds pretty daunting. I know that sounds super intimidating, but at the same time, you don't have to be lost in this process, and you also do not need a language partner in order to begin this process. And I'm going to show you exactly the same steps that I take when I start learning a language, or just a language in general that I've been practicing for a long time, so that you guys can do exactly the same, especially during these times of quarantine when we are not necessarily talking to a bunch of people or interacting with a bunch of people, and we don't necessarily have the ability to easily get a hold of a language partner. So I think that these tips are going to be great. Also, do not forget to study languages during quarantine, because I think it's going to be a good use of your time. Anyway, let's just start with the video. So when it comes to talking to yourself, there are 3 exercises that you can do, and all of these have different goals. The first one is going to help you in terms of pronunciation. The second one is going to help you fill in the gaps of vocabulary that you don't know and that you don't even know that you don't know. I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but I will explain that further. And the third exercise is going to help you consolidate everything that you know. When you speak, you basically remember everything more. At least that is what happens to me. So we're going to look at how every single of these exercises works in my computer. I will show you my computer screen. So let's do that. So now we're going to do the first exercise, and I want to show you my computer screen. It's going to be a little bit hard because I will have to be re-recording myself and the screen, but let's do this. As I mentioned in the other video, this is a great channel for me to be using because they basically tell very, very basic stories that are actually very entertaining. So the first thing that I do in order to practice pronunciation is that I activate the subtitles over here, and then I just play the video and basically repeat whatever they say as true to the pronunciation as I can.
Willy, quando tinha 17 anos.
So I'm gonna repeat this phrase over here. Eu conheci Willy quando eu tinha 17 anos. That sounded a little bit with an American accent, I don't know why, but the idea is that I will do exactly that for about 5 minutes. So for example, I will do it again.
Era o amor da minha vida.
Ele era o amor de minha vida. Since this is a pronunciation exercise, I am going to do it a little bit exaggerated. When I actually do these exercises, I open my mouth really wide because in English, for example, people speak like this, whereas in Spanish or other Romance languages, we open our mouth a lot more. So for example, if I say the same sentence again, I would try to do it a little bit more exaggerated and a little bit slower so that I can imitate and focus on each of the sounds, and so that I don't miss anything. So for example, I would say, Ele era o amor de minha vida. Right now, because I'm speaking in English, I think my accent sounds very American, but when I start, I usually listen to the video for one go, and then the next go, because the Portuguese is already in my mind, I can do it with a better accent. So this is not very representative of what it is like, because you do have to get in the mindset of speaking Portuguese, and for people who are bilingual, you might know that switching languages sometimes leaves you with a little bit of a trace of the language that you were speaking previously. So that's just a disclaimer. So essentially what I do is that I keep on repeating that phrase over and over until it sounds true. If I find something that it's really hard for me to pronounce, I will practice that, and maybe I will try to go on Google Translate because they like basically write out the word as though it was being pronounced. For example, I had a lot of difficulty saying fountain when I first started learning English, but now I can say fountain or mountain or whatever. But I think I used to say like fountain or mountain or whatever. But yeah, so this really helped me find out the things, a lot of difficulty in terms of pronunciation with. The second exercise is for sure my favorite because I get to basically hear myself talk and I can see how good I feel in the language, like how comfortable do I feel speaking the language. So for example, if I was, I don't know, learning say English, I would just try to say basic things if I am at a basic level, or intermediate things if I'm at an intermediate level, or advanced things if I'm at an advanced level, right? So like if I was, for example, at a beginner's level in English, I would try to say, hello, my name is Karen, I can speak English, the languages that I speak are this, I come from this country, I want to travel to these other countries, today I want to eat for lunch, I don't know, tomatoes and eggs and rice. If I was more at an intermediate level, I would try to approach things that I know about. So for example, I've heard a lot about, say, I don't know, Colombia. I know a lot about Colombia, so I can say things that are very specific about Colombia, and things that are more niche, so not necessarily clothing or food or ordering stuff in a restaurant, but things that are a little bit more advanced. So for example, I would try to talk about the cultural differences between the United States and Colombia. So for example, I would say in Colombia, schools are very different from the United States because we divide the private system in terms of languages, and in the United States, public schools are more common, and they don't really target just one language, they target several languages, and you can basically choose what language you learn, something like that. If I am at a more advanced level, I will try to approach something generally more academic, for example, something that is scientific. So if I am really trying for something hard, for a super daunting challenge, I might talk about viruses. So I would say, well, like viruses are actually very small. The only way that you can see them is through an electron microscope, and you can't use a normal microscope to see them because they are super small. They're even smaller than bacteria. They're about 1,000 times smaller than bacteria. And I would try to explain that process or whatever scientific thing I am learning about in a different language if I'm at a really advanced level. And now I will show you the most important thing of this process, and that is to use Google Translate. So say that I was learning English, right? And I am in Google Translate right now. And if I was, say that I'm saying like, oh, my name is Karen, I come from, and I forget the word country, then I can just write it in my native language, so Spanish, I would be translating it to English, and then I can just play it on Google Translate.
Country.
If I'm looking for something that is a little bit more complicated, say that I don't know the exact wording of how to say which pants are you wearing today? Say that I don't know how to say that, I can just put it in Spanish. And then I can just look it up in Spanish and then play it in English.
What pants are you going to wear today?
Obviously, this is not perfect. Google Translate is not going to be absolutely on the dot every single time, but it is very helpful in order for you to start memorizing constructions, especially if you're looking for phrases. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is consolidation. Consolidation is very important because it's basically you reminding yourself of the words that you already know and solidifying the words and the phrases that you already know in a language into your brain. Obviously, we want to do that as much as possible, and talking to yourself or saying things using your mouth, literally exercising the muscles of your mouth and using your voice is going to help you not only be able to memorize that abstractly in your brain, but also to mechanically say that. So I think that is a great way to consolidate vocabulary, and I do see that if I talk to myself, or if I do the thing with Google Translate, or if I repeat stuff in order to improve my pronunciation, I remember words so much faster. So I really recommend that you guys do this, and I hope that you guys are having a good time in spite of the outbreak and in spite of everything that's going on in the world. But in essence, I hope that everything is well with you, and I really encourage you to do this while you're at home, because most of you, since you have internet access, you have access to Google Translate and all these tools which are absolutely free. So remember that you can learn languages at home. You don't have to be at a university, you don't have to be in school, you don't have to use like Rosetta Stone in order to do this. So again, it's all on you, personal responsibility. And this is the end of the video, so thank you so much. Do not forget to subscribe. And something that I would like to ask you is if you ever speak to yourself to memorize words or to improve your language learning, in case that you don't have a language partner. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and I will see you next time.